Hi all, SHOWstudio fashion editor Georgina Evans here in Milan. I am outside the Arca del Pace. I really hope to all Italians watching I haven't butchered that, for the Bottega Veneta show, which showed in here. Bit of a greenhouse situation because it's such beautiful weather here in Milan, but that's okay, all part of the fun. A little bit funny for a leather, for a brand so associated with the leather, such as Bottega Veneta, but a particularly exciting show this morning because it's the first runway collection for Daniel Lee under Bottega Veneta. So he has done a pre-fall collection that sent everyone into quite the tizzy with excitement. Partly because it's so beautiful and partly because the rumour mill is churning that Daniel is to fill that Phoebe Philo gap that we've all been really feeling as of late. And it's a gap that lots of people are trying to fill, but Daniel actually has worked at Celine previously, and so when we saw the pre-fall Bottega and the campaign, there were definite notes of Celine there, and so everyone was rather excited for the show this morning. And I feel that there's a lot of pressure with designers for their first runway show under the house. All eyes are on them really, and particularly for Daniel, particularly with that Phoebe Philo pressure, people assuming that this will be a mini Celine show. That's a lot of pressure on the shoulder, I would say. And actually, I was a bit worried because I didn't want Daniel to try and force a Celine-shaped peg into a Bottega square hole, if that makes any sense. You know what I'm trying to say there. But I needn't have worried because actually this was really refreshingly modern, really pushing the boat out while staying true and respecting the house. So obviously Bottega, well potentially not obviously, Bottega is really known for that leather lattice work. It's known for its accessories, its bags, its shoes. That's why it's so popular internationally, for the accessories. And that lattice work, the leather work, is absolutely integral to the brand. And Daniel stayed very true to that while adding these really pushing it modern takes. And I mean pushing it in a good way. Often when designers go into a house, they look at the house codes and they try and be as respectful as possible for their first collection, and this was respectful, but actually it was really brave and he wasn't shy about pushing the limits, and I really respected that in itself. So let's talk about the clothes. Wonderful lattice work, as you would expect with Bottega, but here really push, as I keep saying push because I feel like it was a real really challenging, the lattice work, and so large lattice done really large and three-dimensional, so if you moved in this coat you would see the gaps in between the lattice, and I really liked that because it feels like there's no denying that's a Bottega coat. If you saw someone walking on the other side of this park that I'm sat in now, I would know straight away that they're wearing Bottega, and that's really great. That's really a strong start to the collection. You want to make your mark with Bottega, but also make your mark with your own style and your own take. So immediately I was like, okay, we're in for a winner. This is going to be great. And then lots of really wonderful elements to follow. So that lattice work came on, which we've seen in pre-fall in the campaign, slightly borderline ugly square shoes, and with the leather lattice work over them, they're almost court shoes, in great turquoises and whites. And those are that really fine line between slightly clunky and ugly and actually fantastic. It's something that Y Project does really well, but to far on the other side. But there were lots of elements of that really fine line between chic, sexy, Bottega, and actually a little bit quirky and unexpected. So the quirky unexpected, which I absolutely loved, was the textures, and I think that added to the sensuality of the collection as well. So we have the leather work, obviously there's full leather suits, a bit like biker suits, there's leather coats in the lattice work, leather bags in beautiful perfect squares, with a giant lattice on them, the lattice on the shoes, leather very prominent, and then also we have textures, slightly leathery puffer almost, so skirt split open in a kilt-like fashion in slightly puffed leather kilting, which were spectacular. I really love those, and in a really nice minty pea green, which to me felt very Celine, so I was very pleased to see that. And it looked beautiful up against the kind of Bottega traditional burgundies and browns. Lots more textures that added to this tactility and sensuality. A bag was almost like chicken wiry, a bit like the scrubber you use for your sink, and I'm making it sound really unattractive, but it was fabulous, like a little mini bag. And that next to leather, next to flow, next to these kind of woolly fabrics was really wonderful. And actually let's talk about those fabrics, because I think Daniel and Bottega is a real match made in heaven, and these looks, these really feminine dresses, were a real example of why. And so leather and these curvaceous swathes of fabric. So slim tight dresses with swooping necklines, and then swathes of fabric that then have swathes of leather, and that harmonizing of both fabrics and shapes and these amazing curves was just so perfect. And I would say that's the takeaway from the collection, this beautiful harmonizing of something a little bit odd, a little bit contemporary, with the beautiful Italian traditional house codes of Bottega. So that for me was an absolute winner. There was also some really lovely little gold clasps on the straps. Square necklines were very heavy in this collection, and that to me was really sexual and sumptuous, and not overtly sexual, just in a ever so slightly blink and you'll miss it sexual. So that's what I mean with the tactility and the square necks and the little capped sleeves. It's a delicate sensuality, or is it a delicate sensuality? I don't know. When you have so much leather in a collection, potentially she's a hidden sexuality, let's say. There's a hidden sexuality there. So shoes fantastic, bags really strong. There's also an addition that I feel really was pushing the boat out, was sequins and glitter. And these came in dusty pinks on coats and skirts and dresses, all form-fitting. And they almost appeared to be filling the gap that you would get from within lattice. So imagine you've got that leather lattice, and in between all these gaps, imagine a dress filled with sequins in those gaps, really tight little rectangles, and they look spectacular, really beautiful. And the dusky pinks and the silvers against the burgundies and the blues I thought was really, really strong. A great collection, I would say. In that aspect. Also elements to note are the blazers with the really beautiful silhouettes at the back. So the blazers from the front look quite traditional, but actually from the back there was a real curvature to the waist, which I thought was really interesting. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see the clothes up close, because they almost look like they're not fitting the form correctly. There's almost a little bit of a jar where it should fit the body, or a little bit off, a little bit unusual. I'm doing this, but I thoroughly like that, and I really like it for such a traditional house as Bottega. In case you can't tell, I really enjoyed this show. I feel like there's a lot of pressure on Daniel's shoulders, and it was really spectacular. There were also some really great stomping boots in this leather with a slight kind of pleat in the toe, but really chunky, and that with the sequin dress, just fantastic to me. I thought that was great, and I love that there's now this new market that Bottega's tapped into with all these wonderful clothes, and I really hope it pays off for them, because they do exceptionally well with their accessories and the lattice work, and but I don't know if the actual ready-to-wear has been doing so well, so I really hope this gives them a jolt of life. So I'm really, really looking forward to seeing where this goes. I'm slapping my thigh in positivity. I'm just gonna close with a lovely line from this from the press release, which says, ultimately the aim of this season's collection is a simple one: to evoke emotion, pleasure and joy, desire and beauty. And I would say absolutely job well done. These are really beautiful clothes that will make women feel wonderful wearing them. You can tell when you put them on, you'll feel a new sense of sensuality, a new sense of joy, a new sense of emotion. So a wonderful collection, I would say. A great start to the day. I'm absolutely thrilled to see where Bottega take it. So thank you guys very much for watching. Lots more live reviews to come shortly. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss them. If you're watching this through YouTube, head to SHOWstudio and you can watch me talk while you scroll through the collections. Always good, so you get an idea of what I'm describing. See you guys very soon.